Welcome back to another episode of Let's Build Twitter. It is episode 64, and in this episode, we start out by creating a brand new model in our code to represent an image that we're going to be storing on our hard drive to be later used either as a profile picture, a banner picture, or maybe even on a post. Once our model for storing that image information is created and annotated, we create a very simple JPARepository for the image object to be able to actually save and load the image by name. And then finally, we create a new class called ImageService to actually handle the logic of actually storing the image on our hard drive and then persisting that data about the image into our database. This method is going to take in a multipart file from our HTTP request and then convert it into an image with a random file name and store it on our hard drive. As always, I'm Ethan, the Koder. Let's hop straight into the development. Back inside of our Eclipse, we're going to set up a couple of things here. The first thing that we need to do is go ahead and create a new model for our photo file, or whatever we want to call it. I probably could have called this like file.java or file upload.java or something like that, but I'm just going to call it image.java, and this is going to be stored inside the database. Something that I do need to go ahead and do really quick is make sure that my Postgres is running, so give me one moment. My Postgres server is now running. Let's go ahead and hop into our models, and I'm going to go ahead and make a new class. And this class is going to be called image.java. And this is going to have a few things inside of it. So we need to store a few pieces of information about this. First, we're going to go ahead and say @entity to make sure that it gets set up to be stored inside the database. And we're also going to say @table. This one is optional. You don't need this. I just like making sure that the class name is what I want. So we're going to say name is equal to images. So this is primarily going to store links to images that are stored on our local storage of our application. If we wanted to, you'd probably really want to use S3, but I don't have the money to do an S3 bucket right now, so that's why I'm just storing it on our local files. So now we will need a private long image ID. We will want a private string image name. We will want a private string image type. And we'll use this metadata later on for a couple of things. We want a private string image path. This is going to be the actual path on our hard drive. And then finally, we want a private string image URL. And it doesn't matter how we do image URL. Now let's go ahead and set up all of our annotations. We need @ID. That way it knows that this is the ID. We need @generated value. Well, I guess we don't need generated value, but I like to put generated value on there. Strategy will be equal to generation type dot auto, and that'll do the trick. Let's go ahead and import these things that we need. Generation type, and now we should be able to import these. Maybe there we go. Import generation type and import generated value. Then finally, we'll go ahead and call this @column. The name will be image_ID. And I'm going to give these other ones some column names as well. So let's go ahead and say this column is going to be image_name. This column will be image_type. This one will be image_path. And this one will be image_URL. And then as well, here we want to make sure that the names are unique. So we're going to say unique equal to true, because we don't want the same person to have the same image as like their profile picture or whatnot. And we also want to make sure we aren't exposing the path to the user. So we're going to say JSON ignore. So this will make sure that whenever we return this model, it's not going to send back the image path of my actual computer or the server, wherever we're storing this on. Then we just need a couple of things. So let's go ahead and first generate source and generate a constructor using fields. We'll do a no argument to start out. We're going to do one with everything but the ID, and this will be just for creating them to be stored in the database. So source generate a constructor using fields with no image ID. And then finally, we'll just do a all args because why not? constructed using fields. And then we'll also do all of the getters and setters. So source and generate getters and setters. Go ahead and go through all of this. And finally, we'll just do a toString real quick. Source, generate a toString, and everything. So I do want to mention that we could use Lombok in this situation. However, I didn't really want to go through and generate everything or install everything we need with Lombok, so that's why I don't use it. Now we actually need some way of storing the images. So to do that, we'll obviously make a repository. So make a new interface, and we'll call this image repository. And this will go ahead and extends JPARepository. And this is going to be using the image and long, because that is the type of ID. Go ahead and import JPA and import image from our model. Now there is image from some other packages, so hopefully that doesn't become an issue later on. And I'm going to make one optional method here. Image find by image name, pass in a string image name, and that'll be useful later on as well. Import the Java util option, and there we go. So now we can go ahead and start up our image service to be able to do the logic for actually saving the photo. So I'm going to go ahead and first I am going to go ahead and go into the services and make a new class, and I'm going to go ahead and call this image service. Make sure I spell it the way I want, image service. And I think that I need a image folder. So inside of our project, I'm just going to make a new folder, and I'm going to call this img for images, and it'll be just live right here in the root of the project. And we'll also go ahead and say @service, and we're also going to throw @transactional on here just to make sure that each method acts as a transaction. And go ahead and import these, and we want it from Spring Framework because we want Spring to manage our transaction for us. We need a private final image repository, and I'm just going to call this image repository like so, and go ahead and import image repository. And then we also need to go ahead and set up our directory. So I probably could have done this a little bit differently, but Spring creates its beans as a singleton, so it shouldn't be much of an issue. It should only create one of these. So I'm going to say private static final file, and this is going to be our directory where we store our images. We're going to say new file, and then we need to pass in a URL or a path, I guess, not a URL. And I'm going to grab this from file IO. So the way I'm going to find this is I'm going to right click on our IMG, and I'm going to go ahead and go to properties, and then I'm going to copy this and get the full path, and then I'm going to paste it in there, and that is going to make this directory that file. And then I'm also going to have a private static final string, and then this is going to be a string for where we can find the actual image by URL. So this is going to be http://localhost:8000/images. So whenever we try to get an image, it's going to come from /images, and this is going to be the base URL. Now we need to go ahead and fix the error with the image repository. So when I say @autowired, and make sure that we set this public image service. And then in here, we're going to have an image repository. And then we'll say this .image repository is equal to image repository. And that should fix the error up top, and we're good to go. So there we go. We have our image service all set up and ready to go. So we're going to need a couple methods in here. We're going to need a way to upload the image, and then a way to actually return the image as well. For now, we're just going to work on uploading it. So we're going to go ahead and say public string upload file to file system. And honestly, we can just say upload image probably. and then this is going to take in a multi-part file. This is going to come from Spring Web or something like that, and then string prefix, and this is going to tell us what type of file it is, and we'll see what that means. And this is going to come from Spring Web, and this is how we actually send big images or big files through a request. So we're going to try, and then we're going to catch an IO exception, and this is going to be something along the lines, if we can't open up the directory or whatnot, it's going to happen. So hopefully it doesn't occur, but you never know. And go ahead. Okay, it's fine. It's just complaining. So first thing we need is to get the extension. So we're going to say string extension is equal to dot plus, we're going to get the file content type, file dot get content type dot split, and then we're going to split it by the slash, and we're going to get the 1. So the reason behind this, whenever we get the content type, it's going to look something like this. So let me go ahead and make a comment. The content type from the request, whoops, looks something like this. So it's going to be like img slash JPEG or something like that. It might not be exactly like that, but it's going to be something similar to this. So what we want to get is we want to split it at this slash and then get the second part of that. That way we can make the extension correct. So now we have our file extension. Now we need to go ahead and make a file for us. So we're going to say file.create temp file. So the reason why I'm doing a temp file is because I want it to be a random name. I don't want to have to generate them myself. So a temp file will actually generate a random name for us. So the prefix will be something like profile picture or banner or whatever else. The extension is going to be whatever type it is. So obviously whatever we get from here. And then finally, we're going to have the directory that we want to store it in. So we're going to put it in there. So that will create a file for us. And then we actually need to set said file. So we can do that with file. And this file is a multi-part file that we passed in. And we're going to say dot transfer to, and we're going to transfer that to the image. So we're going to take the file that we got from the request, and we're going to transfer it to the file on our system. And then we're going to say string image URL is going to be equal to URL plus our image.getName. So this is going to be how the web browser actually gets the image from us. And then finally, we need to actually store the image inside the database. So we're going to say image I is equal to new image. And then we're going to get some info. So image.getName. We're going to say file.get content type. We're going to say image.getPath. Whoops, get path. And then we're going to say image URL. So that will create a new image for us. And then we need to also save that to the database. Later on, we will actually upload the user. We're not doing that quite yet. So we're going to say image saved is equal to image repository dot save. And then we're going to go ahead and save that image I. And then we're going to return that the file uploaded successfully. Like so, and then plus the image.getName. So we're gonna go ahead and return the image, and then otherwise, if there was an error, I'm assuming that's because we don't have a return statement. We'll go ahead and just return null here if something went wrong, or actually I'll throw that inside the catch. So if something went wrong, we can just say file not uploaded successfully, I guess. So let's go ahead and just take this and copy it and return file upload unsuccessful. So we'll just say that. So there's some sort of issue. So this is going to be the logic to actually upload the image onto our computer. Unfortunately, that's going to be it for today. If you guys enjoyed, please stick around for the next episode by hitting that subscribe button. You'll know exactly when it comes out, especially at that bell icon. If you did enjoy the content today, please sure to leave a thumbs up. If you did enjoy it, leave a thumbs down. Either way, it helps out with the algorithm all the same. And finally, if you have any suggestions or feedback for me, make sure you leave a comment down below. With that being said, I appreciate you all for watching. Stay tuned for the next episode. Peace out, guys, and I'll see you in the next one.